don't take this the wrong way. Record labels, major record labels, all record labels are very good at helping, but it feels like more of the burden is on the artist than ever before.
Yeah.
And I think it's because no one knows the labels don't know what to do. No one knows what to do. It feels like every project is released the exact same way. And now it's all, well, you got to go post more. It feels like that's what's driving a lot of the mental, not issues, but I'm sure burden for artists is it all feels like it's on them now.
The record deal, the thing that you think your whole life you dream of, you get it. And then it's like all of a sudden it's the starting point.
Yes, that's exactly right.
It's like you thought you climbed the mountain. It's like, oh, just kidding. This is
phase one.
This is phase one.
This is that first place where you put your tent up and you spend the night because and then you look up and you go, oh my word.
Yeah, it's Everest.
Yeah, that's right.
It's base camp and you're getting used to the elevation.
And I wish, and I understand why, but I wish artists would wait more nowadays
to build their careers bigger
and have more leverage. And I always say that an average country number one song generates about $1 million for the writers and publishers total.
Okay. But when you split that up between 4 or 5 writers and then their percentage and the recoupment and where they're at in their, I don't know what you call it, options. That gets real confusing real fast.
Oh, it does.
But people are going home with maybe like $100,000.
Yeah. I mean, 100, 125.
So that would be a rough number for a number one.
About like a 4 or 5 way number one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's that's what I don't think people realize how hard it is to make it in the music business.
And that can be quite discouraging.
It is.
Because you've seen it where it was like a completely different time.
Oh, it was, if you had a top 10, let's say you co-wrote a song that was a top 10 hit in the 90s, early 2000s, that song would be platinum plus. And it could be on, Johnny whomever, and it would be a platinum song. I mean, that's how many CDs were being sold. It was raining money back then.
Yeah, and the cost of a single, it's like what, 99 cents, $1.29 on Apple Music if you want to buy something.
Yeah,
that's like basically what people were paying back then in the 90s.
Yeah,
that doesn't account for inflation.
That's right.
I've heard from so many people like, if you want to be a songwriter, you just have to write number ones, no pressure. If you want to like make it as a songwriter.
That's impossible.
And it's impossible. So you have to get cuts, which can keep you afloat.
Yeah.
But I even had a conversation with someone where they were like, this artist or this writer got all these cuts it was our goal. And then they didn't recoup still. Yeah. And so they had to be let go after their 3 years or whatever.
And that happens more than not, unfortunately. I think what you can hope for is, let me kind of walk through what you can hope for when you sign.
Can you shine some light on my dark soul, my discouraged heart right now?
Well, look,
because sidelining, I just had a cut with Vince Gill.
Great.
Yeah, it was exciting. And it came out on the last EP, 50 Years From Home, and it was track 2. Right after the one he did with Lainey Wilson, and I owned my publishing and my writer's shares. And I was like, this is so awesome. It's a legacy cut. But at the same time, there was the fiscal side, which was discouraging because I was like.
That's why you have to, I call those resume builders. So when I meet you early on, you've never had a publishing deal. I'm fired up about all the songs you've written in your life up to that point. And I think, you know what, Stephan could really be a hit songwriter in 3 or 4 years. So I sign you, let's say to $35,000, $40,000 first year. my goal, whenever I sign anybody, I'm signing for at least 2 years. That's not what the contract says, but in the back of my mind, there's no way we're going to get what we need to get done in 1 year. So I'm already thinking this is a 2-year project. We got to get you in the right rooms. You and I have to get on the same page. I have to understand what you're trying to say. You have to understand what I'm trying to say. I've said it a million times. The most nervous I'm ever in the music business is when more than one of my writers is in my office at the same time. Everybody's like, why? And I go, because I talk to each of them differently. We have a different language than the same. And it's because of how I am perceiving what you want to get from me to get you to the next spot. So if I have 2 of my writers in, it's like, I can't say what I really want to say because that person's never heard me say that, or, it's just it's something, and it's probably just in my head, but that's the way I am. So you're writing songs, hopefully 4 days, if not 5 days a week. I'm putting you in all these rooms. We're hopefully finding you the connections you need to get songs recorded. Best case scenario, you have 2 or 3 songs recorded quickly. Well, then, it's another 4 or 5 months before that album or those songs ever come out. And then it's another year after that before you even collect any money. So that's why it's always, you're at 2 years before you really are going to sit down and say, what have we gotten done in 2 years? Well, hopefully we have moved your train down the track far enough that your songs are starting to be considered as radio singles, because that's right now, outside of Morgan Wallen and Luke Combs and Kane Brown and maybe the top 5 artists that can really have a huge streaming hit. Your best bet is to have a radio single that goes to number 1. But it's so hard to get those. I mean, they're not. We don't have control over it. That's the thing that's hard to realize. What we have control over is what you're doing, and are we putting you in the right situation to increase those odds of that happening. But the song still has to get written. It still has to be recorded. Still has to move enough people to put all the push and money behind it for it to become a radio single. And then it has to be a hit. We've had at verse 2, I should have looked before I came. I'm going to say 20 singles so far, 20 country radio singles, and 7 of them have been number 1s. And the other ones, I hate to say this, don't really matter. The other 13 never, weren't top 10s, or, they probably, most of them died in the 20s, 25, 30.
Which seems like a feat.
No, it's a great, hey, look, to get that far. And that's what usually happens.
But the money's not there.
The money is in the top 10.
If you've ever wondered why you see that little Frenchie in every episode of my podcast, it's there for a reason. What I care about here is real conversation, real people, and real human connection. That's why partnering with Studio Bank made sense to me. Their mission is to empower creators. And they say that little Frenchie is more than just a logo. It's smart, active, adaptable, and a natural companion. Sophisticated, but not pompous. Rare and one of a kind. That felt like a real fit for this podcast and this show and what I'm all about. And if you're around Music Row, you've probably heard of Studio Bank or know someone that bangs with them. And there's a reason for that. They set out to rethink the typical experience, put people at the center of it, infuse innovative technology with genuine hospitality. Their whole idea is to be uncommonly modern and surprisingly human. That's a big part of why I'm proud to partner with them. They do not make you feel like a number. You get real people, real support, and a team that actually cares about what you're building, whether that's your business, your family, or your future. They also offer immediate ATM fee reversal at any ATM machine in the entire world. That's why a lot of my friends that are on the road bank with them. Visit studiobank.com or call 615-338-9998. Let them know Stephan Hogan sent you and see how Studio Bank can serve you today. Studio Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. I got a question.
Okay.
So if we went from like number 1 and we dropped down to number 5, you just for figures, you went with $1 million at a number 1.
That's an average of
complete average.
Average. So it honestly depends on. Okay, so everybody has that question. I know what you're going to ask me. I had a song that was on the chart for 52 weeks, a full year. I'm going to make a lot of money, and I always say, well, were 45 of them from 60 to 11? Yeah. I said, well, really, you're getting paid on that 10 to number 1. How many weeks was it in the top 10? That's really where the majority of the money is paid, because I can go look at the songs that I've had that have died at 30, 35, 40, barely chart, but was at 48 for 12 weeks. The money, I mean, it's minuscule, and so it's really about the top of the chart. And it's also a numbers game. If you look at a chart and you know where to look, you'll see the radio audience impressions. And you can see from a number 11 song, and I'm just making these up because I don't have a chart in front of me, but let's say you're reaching 9 million average listeners a week at 11. At number 1, you're reaching 40 million. So it's a massive difference. And they pay on who's listening, and it's not a mathematical formula. It's more of they have, I guess.
So it really comes down to the number 1, like top 10 would maybe help you recoup.
Yes. So you want to recoup. There's a lot of writers that the people they sign their first deals with, that's a stepping stone. It's really that second publishing company that you go to is really where your career will excel. Now, I'm fortunate enough that we've signed, again, I'm just going to...
Like Joybeth, for example.
Okay.
So you were her first
publisher.
Deal. And look at that.
Yeah, in April of 21.
How long was the dating process?
That was a quick one. She was the one I was talking about, where it was like after the first meeting, I went. I just kept rolling around in my head of I need to be in business with her.
Did she have cuts at that point?
Yeah, maybe some small cuts, but nothing, no singles or nothing significant.
Yeah.
And she had been in town a long time, and quite frankly, I was stunned that she had not been signed. And
me too.
And I just felt like it was God putting each other in each other's path. And
I remember telling multiple publishers about her,
mm-hmm.
and I was like, you got to sign Joybeth. Like, this girl I've been writing with is so good. She's so amazing. And she'd always be like at our little apartment downtown. Mm-hmm. And she's like, all right, I got to go to my next write. And she was doing 2 a days, just like.
And 3 a days.
Yeah.
And we did 3 a days for the first year. But I felt like she wasn't getting what she needed out of it. So we cut it all the way back to where she was writing once a day for 4 days out of the week. And we would take Fridays off, and I would tell her to go for a hike, go watch a movie, go read a book, go whatever to get your ideas. And it was hard. I knew it'd be hard for her. It was very hard for her to go do that because she's a workaholic. And, but she's about to come back. She just had a baby, and she's about back into writing, and I already see on her calendar 2-3 days again, 3 times a day, because she just wants it, and she wants it so bad. And that was a big part of, not only was it the talent of her songwriting, it was just her work ethic was unreal. It was,
and I can't imagine, like, by the time you've written that many songs, you have that much under your belt, the way to be able to craft a song has to come a lot faster
mm-hmm.
at where she's at.
No, it does. And that's what people look for you in the room,
Yeah.
and to do it in a different way that hasn't been done, and to say things a different way that hadn't been done. You can look at titles, just go on Spotify and scroll through, and you'll start seeing a lot of the same titles. And then it's like, but once you hear it written a different way, it's like, oh, now that's good. That's the good stuff. It's all a process of how do you in your core bring out what somebody wants to hear, that where they hear it a different way. And it could be musically, it could be lyrically, it could be melodically. There's just different ways in all the song, in every song. That how does it touch you? Where does it touch you? How does it touch you?
What's your belief in risk?
And
In
am I risky in terms of business wise?
What's your risk tolerance? I'm curious because creatives have a huge amount of risk going after a dream.
Yeah.
When you come to Nashville to pursue something with not a backup plan.
Yeah.
That is quite risky.
So I think everybody in the music business has a fair amount of risk because, I always say it's easier to win the lottery than it is to be successful in the music business. It is hard on no matter what side of the table you sit on, because it filters out. My parents thought I was nuts getting in the music business, just because it was foreign. I was born and raised in Nashville, but nobody in my family was in the music business. So it was foreign to everybody. And I just had to go do it. I knew every name. I knew every writer, every producer's name, every player on every record. Back then you were able to look at albums, cassettes, and CDs and find all the information. It was right there, and you had I had to do it every day. I befriended a lot of songwriters. I set up with them all hours of the night, learning from them. And I'm not saying I did this purposely. Looking back, I didn't know what I was doing. And I think that's also the other part of the music business. No one knows really what they're doing. We're all just trying to figure it out on a day-to-day basis. But looking back, I was learning how to work with songwriters before I knew I wanted to be a music publisher. I was learning what they like to hear from someone that's on this side of the table, if that makes sense. How do they want to receive that information?
Would you say this side of the table is the consumer side of the table?
No, the business side of the table.
Yeah, but as a listener, to have someone to say like, hey, I think this song's good, but it could be great if you tweaked this.
Yeah. And I think you learn that also through experience.
Yeah.
That's and that's just listening to thousands and thousands and thousands of songs, over. You start out usually in the music, in the publishing business. You used to start out in what they called the tape room, which is, all the songs came to a centralized location in a publishing company, and you were responsible for cataloging and sorting it and knowing where it is. And when the song pluggers would come in and want a copy made to go give it to George Strait, you made that copy. And then you started, again, subconsciously or whatever, figuring out, why does that song keep coming up? Why did they keep pitching that song? And then you see that song get recorded and you go, oh, yeah, okay. It may not be my favorite song, but now I understand. That's the other thing. Every song cannot be your favorite. Not every song I have is my favorite. My favorites are, different than usually what get recorded. And you have to differentiate those. And, but going back to the risk question, even though I feel like I'm pretty conservative, I'm definitely very risky, because what we do in Nashville is different than it's done anywhere else in the world. And what I mean by that is most other music market cities in the world, where publishers are the last piece of the puzzle. So let's say you have a band, Coldplay. Coldplay's been, let's just say, holed up working on their material for 10 years. They start playing at a club. They get the attention of either a manager or an agent or a whomever, and they get signed up to that person. Well, within that network of that person, other people are hearing about Coldplay. Well, everywhere else in the world, all the pieces of their puzzle is put into place before publishing usually. So the publisher in LA, UK, whatever, they get to hear a finished product, right? So, oh, okay, manager X, who's been super successful with all these other acts, the label is super successful, the attorney's super successful. You get to see the whole board, playing field, if you will. And as a publisher in those arenas, you get to decide, is that where you're going to place your bet? And they generally, in my opinion, overpay on things because the risk is lower, because you have more, you get to see more behind the curtain. In Nashville, the first piece of the puzzle is publishing. So we're signing all the artists and all the songwriters usually first. And then we're in the trenches with them, helping develop, whether it's their writing, their sound, whatever. And then agents, managers, usually attorneys involved in the beginning because you got to negotiate the publishing deal. But usually all the other pieces come later. So we're making all the risk initially up front. Now it is lower because we were talking about, if it's a writer, $35,000, $40,000 a year. But that's risk, is when you're blindly believing something that you see the same thing as the writer sees, and you believe you can get there together. That's risk.
But you don't have
That's
those
real
other
risk.
elements of the table when you were talking about seeing the field.
Yeah.
Because you had those three verticals right there for data, but you really only have one data point.
And
maybe
that's
two.
And that's your gut and the music and your experience. So
Nashville operates entirely different than the rest of the world when it comes to.
In my opinion, it does. Yes.
Yeah. So in your opinion, Nashville operates entirely different than the rest of the world in terms of music and how it gets from point A being written to the final product, which is radio.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm curious, because your wife's in the music business as well. Has there ever been a time where you feel like, and I'm curious a couple things about it, where there was a conflict of interest in like what she's doing and what you're doing?
Oh, absolutely.
And how do you work with that? How does that work out?
The conflict of interest, it's, I guess conflict would be when she was working with Kane as his manager, and then I was trying to sign Kane to Universal as a songwriter. That's, and I guess inherently a conflict right there. But there are other people involved. You have business manager, you have attorney. And so they, and 99 times out of 100, you can't pull one over on anybody. If you do, you're not going to be in this business. And that's not the way we would ever operate anyway. We're never going to want to do that to anybody. So, she, I wasn't dealing with her. Our attorneys was dealing with his attorney.
Yeah.
And I made the best offer. He had another offer or two on the table, but he, chose to sign with us at Universal. But
so there's a point of separation between you and your wife.
Yeah, I told somebody yesterday at Sony, they asked me a question about Kane, and I said, And I thought about it and I said, you know what? We didn't even speak about the music business the entire weekend. I mean, it just hit me that I was like, I'll ask her tonight, but I don't have any idea the answer to that question.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, what's dinner like at home?
Well, when you have
are
two
you talking
kids
music business, or is it like work, home? Like I'm transitioning.
Yeah, but if there's a question either one of us have, and of course during the day you can call, but you know, we'll ask each other general questions. You know, she manages 6 or 7 other acts. So she'll ask me, hey, what do you think about this on this particular act? And I'll give her my opinion of whatever. And I'll ask her too on other writers. And she was a publisher before. She was originally a music publisher before she got into management. And so, you know, I value that. I think she's a great song picker. She knows great songs. And so I'll ask her, what do you think? I'll play her a song. What do you think of this that one of the writers, you know, wrote? And I'll be like, oh, you know, I'm so fired up about it. And she'll be like, you're right. That would be great for Blake Shelton or whatever. And I'll be like, I didn't even think of him. And so
that's great. You're like a power couple.
Yeah, I think in a sense, but you know, maybe on the smaller level.
Yeah. Nah, dude. What do you think about this whole movement of the Tyler Childers resurgence with the Zach Bryan thing? And then like all of a sudden these records are coming out and people are getting signed to labels that to me 10 years ago during the bro country or like the FGL era, I feel like if y'all heard that or we heard that on the radio, we'd be like, this sounds like it was recorded in someone's garage. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's bands that I had on Isaac Gibson from 49 Winchester. Mm-hmm. They signed with MCA and they're very much very organic, I guess I would say, sounding band. Sure. And there's this interesting kind of like weird way of the Nashville changes every like decade in terms of like taste. Do you think, because we've got Morgan Wallen, who's probably at the top of the format.
Sure.
You mentioned him. Yeah. Stadiums. And then you've got like the Zach Bryans, who are the rootsy, like, I'm going to make a mistake, play a wrong chord and might sing it flat or whatever. Right. But people like that humanity aspect of the music.
I think music's always been that way. I mean, back, you know, in the 70s and 80s, you had the outlaw movement. You know, there's always people that are, and that's who I'm attracted to, you know, people that are outside the square or can step one foot out and do it, but yet it fits in here. And then there's people that it doesn't have to, you know, and that's the blessing and the curse of what releasing music out of your bedroom has done. The blessing has been, you're right, it changed, if you want to call it a singular silo of country music. It's not all funneled down that silo anymore. And I think that's awesome. The curse is how much you have to sift through to find it. There's that, you know, I heard one time, and I don't know if this is true, that there were 60,000 songs uploaded to DSPs every day.
I believe it.
60,000.
I think I read 30,000 a day now, or AI.
Oh,
just
there you go.
In and of themselves, AI songs.
So
now the AI is a thing.
So even the good, great music's got to get through all that noise. So that's what I think the trick is now, is getting through that. Now everybody has the opportunity. It doesn't have to be the handful of labels, A&R teams anointing, you know, the next artist saying, oh, we're going to let you pass through. Now everybody, it's an open playing field, but it's so much more crowded. And it's, you know, there has to be a moment to break through. And I think we'll find 10 years from now that they'll, you know, like, you know, people, you know, American Idol and The Voice, you know, people are like, oh, look at all these great singers. And it's like, yeah, you know, there's a lot of great singers out there, but there's it's hard to be a great artist.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good singers, but there's not a lot of great artists.
Yeah.
A lot of people are gifted vocally, but it doesn't mean they have the artist thing,
Yeah.
Or what you said at the beginning, which is the it factor.
The it factor.
It thing.
That's it.
And I think that's an intangible that you're blessed with and born with, like you said.
Yeah.
It's like a God-given talent. Do you find in your relationship with working with artists that a lot of them struggle with mental health?
Yes.
Do you think that's part of the curse of the artist?
Yeah. And I think it's also how hard the business is. It's a very, very hard business. And I try not to become old man Earls as I age in this business.
I like old man Earls.
But, just the guy that's like, oh, it's not the way it used to be. And it's so hard now. But it really is hard to do this day in and day out, especially what is demanded of the artist today. That was, I think, and don't take this the wrong way, record labels, major record labels, all record labels are very good at helping, but it feels like more of the burden is on the artist than ever before.
Yeah.
And I think it's because no one knows the labels don't know what to do. No one knows what to do. It feels like every project is released the exact same way. Back in the day, there was many different ways. You can get print, get in Rolling Stone, and that, took you to another level. You can go on Johnny Carson, and that would take you to another, whatever, and now it's all, well, you got to go post more, and that's just kind of, I don't know. It just, it feels like that's what's driving a lot of the mental, not issues, but I'm sure burden for artists is it all feels like it's on them now.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, I've talked to so many that it's like the record deal, the thing that you think your whole life you dream of, you get it. And then it's like all of a sudden it's the starting point.
Yes. That's exactly right.
It's like you thought you climbed the mountain. It's like, oh, just kidding. This is just like,
this is phase one.
This is phase one.
This is that first place where you put your tent up and you spend the night because,
and then you look
up and you go, oh my word.
Yeah. It's Everest.
Yeah, that's right.
It's base camp and you're getting used to the elevation.
And I wish, and I understand why, but I wish artists would wait more nowadays
to build their careers bigger
and have more leverage. And I always say that being offered a record deal is like a woman being offered a diamond. It's hard to say no to look at the diamond, and it's hard to say no because that's like what you said. It's what you wanted your entire life up to that point. And if you could just say no, I don't think we're ready yet, and go build it more, and you get more leverage and hopefully more help at a different level. Because as record labels, which make total sense, as their success, that's where they're going to put all their effort and money in.
Cody Johnson's a great example of that.
Yeah.
Because he turned down Warner 4 times or 3 times or something.
Yeah. And why not?
Yeah.
It's because he was building his business, outside of, the traditional way.
He was out there digging it out of the clubs in Texas.
That's Eric Church, he had signed his record deal, but he went and built his business that way, and did it without having to go to country radio initially. There's always different ways.
I like it that you say build his business and build your business. Yeah. And I would like you to expound upon that, because too many creatives don't think of what they're doing as them operating, owning, operating, and running a business.
Yeah.
And they are the business.
They are. Lee Thomas Miller, songwriter in Nashville, always says that the number one smallest business in the U.S. is a songwriter. And that's so true. And because you're building your business as a music publisher or as a record company. We get to become a partner in your business. At the end of the day, the copyright laws allow you to take your copyrights back after years, after, X number of years. You get to file with the Copyright Office and they go back. So it is your business. I'm here to help along your business, and along the way. And you have to look at it that way because it's the music business, and the word business is longer than music. So
artists, managers, labels. Are you looking for a high quality, affordable merch item your biggest fans will actually buy? Custom branded merch guitars from the Graphic Guitar Guys are one of the highest grossing tour products, often second only to t-shirts with 300 to 400% markups. They're an easy way to brand specific tours, albums, or a special project, and not offering them leaves real money on the table at any career level. With unbeatable pricing, top-tier quality, fast turnaround times, and hands-on customer service, the Graphic Guitar Guys work with everyone from stadium acts to bands touring in a van. Do yourself or your artist a favor and see what the Graphic Guitar Guys can do for you. So how many of your signed writers are artist writers?
Right now we have two, and if you count Kane. So Kane is signed directly to Sony, but I help with him, and he's the co-owner in Verse 2.
Okay.
So we work, as a team on that side.
Copy.
And then we have two other artists.
Okay.
And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 other songwriters.
So, 7 in total?
Mm-hmm.
Do you foresee it being more writer artists in the long run?
I don't ever say that. No, it's whoever I meet. It's whoever I meet
that you vibe it out.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I mean, at this point in my career, I worked for the major for 22 years. Ran it. I hit all my goals doing that. I'm not chasing market share. I'm not trying to become the number one independent publishing company. What I want to help writers and artists like I always have, and enjoy doing it, and not get into the reason why I ended up having to take a year and a half off after I left Universal, because it was, you become numb, you become in the rat race of trying to have everybody's hit. It's a hard business in that sense, like I keep saying, and I'm not after that anymore. I had to take time off to love music again. And
that's profound.
And that's, and I didn't know if I was coming back, and I was young. I was in my mid 40s, and I thought I was done, and not done, like done because I could be done. And then I realized, no, I'm not done. And I wanted to get back to what got me in the business: signing and developing artists and writers. And that's at this level. It's not a level of chasing every hit on the radio or on the charts. And
that's exhausting.
Yes.
I was watching a guy, his name's Michael Bryan. He was the head of the global head of country music at Apple. Okay. And he left 5 months ago. And
he was Michael Bryan.
Yeah.
He used to be a PD at WSX, I believe.
Yeah, he's like been in the business basically his whole life. And he posted a video yesterday, I think, and I watched it this morning. It was 6 minutes long on Instagram. And he talked about the things you can't talk about when you work there, like universally. And he basically said, I was so burnt out when I left. I didn't even like listening to music, and I didn't like the songs, and my health wasn't good.
Yeah.
And I'm tapering off my anxiety medicine now, and I'm trying to get healthier, and I haven't felt this good in like so long.
Yeah.
He's talking about.
Yeah.
And he's kind of transitioning roles, and he's managing Charlie Worsham.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And so he's doing something that he's excited about. And he says that there's a privilege in the fact that he can do that now. But at the same time, the exhaustion of that corporate position just eats you up.
It does.
So I'm curious about what that was like for you, and kind of how you came to a place where you took that time off.
Well, it was forced. They decided they wanted to make a change, but I was ready. I mean, it wasn't, and they were very, very kind to me. And but they came and said, we want to make a change, and this is what we're doing. And I said, okay. And I had 18 months left on my contract, so I knew that was June of 2019. So I knew I was going to take the rest of that year off, regardless. It didn't matter if someone came and offered me the next greatest job. I knew I needed that time off. We had 2 young girls at home. I got to spend invaluable time with them.
That's like COVID, right?
And then COVID started March of 20, which threw a wrench into everything. And then and that was fine too. I was used to being at home anyway, so it really threw more of a wrench in Martha than from having to try to keep that engine going down the tracks, with everybody being at home. But and then the more I talked to people, and I was very fortunate that a lot of people reached out. I wouldn't say a lot. I'd say 6 or 8 different companies. People reached out with different ideas, and I took every call and listened to everybody. And the more and more it became apparent that I don't have to sit in a C-suite anymore. That's not where I need to be anymore. And fortunately, my wife was wonderful and supportive, and everybody's heard me say this, that she said, hey, you got us this far, let me take us home. And so it took all the pressure off of I need to go find that CEO job again. And then that's when I realized what was it that made me love the music business. And it was getting back down to the song level and finding and working with those writers and artists. And the greatest joy you have is, in my position, is when you find something, you sign it, and they have their first hit. And it's, we've been very fortunate that every writer that we have signed, except one, has had a hit since they signed with us. So it's been very, very rewarding. And it's, I love doing it.
And there's not the pressure. You said
There's
the
no
C-suite. That's
Yeah.
the CEO, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Sitting up there in the
Yeah.
top of the building.
Yeah. That's a
carrying.
different pressure. That's a different music business. And I was able to hold it off as long as I could, meaning I was able to stay creative. Usually in the music business is you work your way up, and it may not be the best thing. Meaning I recognized after I went home for 18 months that I shouldn't run a company that size anymore. That's not where I excel at. I'd be a great number 2. I'd be an awesome number 2, where I focus more on the creative side, more on the signing, developing side than all the other stuff. Because you become HR person, you become a accountant, you become a lawyer, you become all those things that are rolled up. And I was able to hold off as much of that as I could and still keep the creative for as long as I could. And while I was the head of Universal, I pitched and had a number one song. And you know, and it just becomes too much, and you can't do both, and you have to finally take the reins of the company, and it's like a Titanic or a whatever. And it's just hard to steer that ship when you're all those roles. And because you're trying to, and you also have to guide your team, and you know, and then writers are coming in there and they're having problems, and it's just it's a lot. It's a lot.
I don't want to be CEO, except of my podcast.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
You know, one day in that job, it has to be the amount of meetings.
It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Oh, I'm sure. I heard a quote that was a busy calendar that's scheduled out is a hedge against existential dread.
That's awesome. That's exactly right. Well, a lot of times you didn't have to put anything on the calendar, and it became your busiest day of the week because it was something at all times. And it was, and especially if you wanted to keep the company moving forward, it's what's required. I mean, you know, you have 2 or 3 other great companies in Nashville that are doing that every day, and you're trying to stay, you know, at the same pace as they are. And
can I take a guess at what brought you back on the music side?
What's that?
In terms of listening? Because I would imagine you took a break from listening to music. Did what bring you back to the music was the records that you listened to when you were very young?
Yeah, of course.
The stuff that was formative to you, that you loved.
The 80s.
Or what your dad listened to.
It was 80s country and rock. And my kids now know all those songs by heart because we rode around listening to them that whole, you know, time off.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
That's exactly.
I'm going through that right now. And I'm listening to my dad passed January of last year. And he was my biggest influence musically. Yeah. And we had the Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, Beatles, White Album. It was the Eagles Greatest Hits Volume 2, Fleetwood Mac Greatest Hits, White Album, and then an Elvis tape. Those were the 4 tapes he owned. We didn't have a lot of money, and that's what we listened to, and it was the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac the most.
Yeah.
And I kind of just I listened to a lot of just like coffee table-ish jazz.
Mm-hmm.
It just relaxes my brain. But I've just gone back to starting to listen to that Eagles record again to try to rediscover the love of music. Because I have a story that's for another time, but it's like, I feel like myself, I relate with your story because there comes this like, it's the creation and commerce thing, and you start it because you love it and you do it, and then all of a sudden this commerce part steps in and it makes it really ugly, and it gets really confusing, and before you know it, you're swamped with it, and then you have all this responsibility, and you have kids, and you have to make money, and it's like this thing that started as a pure love turned into this has to work or else.
That's right.
Or
it's a failure or whatever.
Or it's a failure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And it doesn't, they don't have to be exclusive all the time. That's the other part. And that's like I was saying, that you can have both, but you need both. You know, I love songs that aren't the hits. There are so many songs that nobody's ever going to hear that I think are great because they're technically not hits, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though they're great songs.
One of my favorite things you've said today is I look for the person that has one foot out of the
box.
The box. See, to me, that's what's exciting. And my friend Jody Williams, he kind of thinks that way too.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
he says that he's looking for the person that's not on the radio,
Yeah.
you know, like the first them instead of a copycat.
That's
you
right.
know, Morgan Wallen's always going to be able to sell out stadiums, but the people that are in his wake
That's right.
are not going to be
That's
able
right.
to. It's going to be fleeting.
It will be.
It will be very fleeting. Man, what's in terms of like advice you've been given over your career as like mentors to you? What's one of the best pieces of advice you've received?
I think try to figure out who you are in terms of, or where you want to go in the business, and stay on that path. Don't jump around, you know, as much as, you know, because you could don't take a job just for the extra money. Make sure that's your career path, that's part, that gets you to where you want to go. And because I'd had job offers very young, and I was like, oh, maybe I can go do A&R, or maybe I can go do this. And I had a mentor tell me, where do you want to end up? And I said, well, my goal is to run one of the major publishing companies. And he's like, don't do anything to get off that road. And so I think that's, if you can figure that out. A lot of people can't. A lot of people don't know what they want to do, you know, but the quicker you figure that out, the easier your vision will be, and you'll know where to go from there.
Mentorship. How important is that?
Very important, especially as the business changes so much. And your mentor could be older or younger. You know, I had lunch with a guy today, and he was talking about the new, the new social media algorithms or whatever, and how they're affecting his artists. And I'm sitting here going, I need to go find a mentor in digital marketing to understand exactly everything he was saying, because that's not, he wasn't speaking language that I understood.
Was he talking about TikTok not pushing the views going down dramatically on TikTok? Yeah. All the algorithms changed because it was acquired by
the Oracle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of understood it, but it was like, after I left that lunch driving up here, I was thinking, I need a mentor. I need a mentor outside of that, as if we sign a developing artist. You know,
Haley works for TikTok, so we can be your mentors.
See, there.
We know all about it.
And then before me, the greatest thing my mentors gave me, and Jody Williams is actually one of them. Jody hired me at MCA in 97.
Wow.
And, but Rusty Gaston, myself, my wife, Martha, and Mike Molinar, or I would say 20 something years ago, we took Jody Williams, Pat Higdon, and Tim Whipperman, who were the four of us, like our mentors, to dinner. So the seven of us went to dinner just to get even more mentorship from them. And one of the biggest things that they taught us was the respect of the people that came before. I feel like there's none of that in nowadays. And I'm not saying, oh, we need you. I just think you need to know why things were done a certain way and who did them, and you know what you can take from that to build your path. And that was that dinner has always been very special. You know, it was probably, let me think, we're in 26. Yeah, but it was 2005 when we did that.
In 70-something episodes, you're the only second person to say that.
Really?
The first person to say that was Tony Harrell at MV2.
Yeah.
And I met him playing I was a finalist in this guitar competition with Vince Gill. The time I met Jody, actually, it was through Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah.
When Jody was still at BMI, and
Yeah.
Larry came and introduced me to Jody, and we had a meeting together, and they both kind of, helped me along the way. But, yeah, man, Tony said the same thing. You need to look at, the path you're walking and the people that walked it before you, essentially what you just said. And I've always found that to be profound because we don't think about it.
No.
And the biggest thing that grounds me in that is that Ken Burns documentary on country music to see who came before.
That's right.
And I think for you guys too, in the business, on the like executive side in the business, it's got to be the executives, who ran the business, how did they do a great job of it? Who are the greats?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And you'll learn something.
Yeah.
You learn something every time. And it's not always, I learned something to do. It's also, I learned something not to do. There are things that my mentor that I was like, I'm not going to do it that way. And they would say, well, you got to remember this was a different time. It's just a different time. But then there's things that you learn from, other mentors that you're like, oh, I carry that with me every day.
Yeah.
And, it's, I think it goes both ways.
What's your biggest piece of advice to the next generation? I mean, you said a piece of advice given to you was follow the footsteps. Is that right?
Yeah.
Now, if you
stay on your path to where you want to go.
That's the biggest piece of advice is stay on the path to where you want to go. Now, my question there is sometimes has to be pivots.
Yeah.
Or like God will close a door and open a door. This is my belief personally. I'm learning how to surrender my life instead of try to control it. I had plans for my life, and my life's in a very different spot than what the younger Stephan had planned, 20 years ago. Yeah. But I'm good with that.
Sure.
But I've also had to adjust that path. So what do you say to the person that has stayed on a path, but it's been redirected? Is it like stay on that path?
Stay in the game. Keep a chip in a chair, if that makes sense, like an old poker term. As long as you have a chip, you have a chair, you're still in the game.
It's been really cool talking to you.
Thank you.
I can't believe this is your first podcast.
Very first podcast.
You're a natural.
I don't know about that.
I appreciate your openness and your candor.
Yeah. That's one thing I've always done though.
Well, I just like it when someone can just be straight up and honest and open, man. And that's something that I really like. Do you know Eddie Tidwell by chance?
I know of him, yeah.
So Eddie, you remind me of him a little bit, or vice versa. But he kind of went through that same renaissance that you went through career-wise with the golden age of, I don't know, before it ended.
That's right.
And he was with Irv Woolsey's company.
Right. Yeah, he was a little bit ahead of me.
Okay.
In career, yeah.
Yeah, he's getting up there. What can we do collectively as an audience to support what you're doing, support your writers, artists? Is there anything?
Go listen to music, however you get your music. Go to writers' nights. Go support writers at the beginning level. That's where they need the most support. And that would mean more to me than a stream on one of our songs. Is go find writers' nights and try to find the next Joybeth Taylor.
Great advice. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit like, subscribe. It's your free gift to the show. And over half of the listeners of this podcast are not subscribed. So please do that. We appreciate it. And share it on your socials if you enjoyed this conversation. And we'll see you for the next episode. And thank you once again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Peace.